Hey 49er fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Chat Sports. Quick question before we jump into today's trade video. Do you guys want the Niners to trade for a quarterback? Like, I ask you guys who you want them to trade for, but do you want them to trade for a quarterback? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no right now in the comment section. As we talked about in a video yesterday, and as we will continue to look at today, Matthew Stafford going to the LA Rams has, I think, started this kind of pinball, snowball, domino effect, whatever you want to call it, in the National Football League. Meaning, if you have a team, the 49ers, who want to go ahead and trade for a quarterback, the options are still plentiful, but a little bit less limited, or a little bit more limited now that, of course, Matt Stafford has officially gone to LA. Quick review, as we know, Matt Stafford traded to the LA Rams over the weekend. Jared Goff draft picks go over to the Lions, and this, to me, was my favorite choice for the 49ers if they wanted to upgrade at quarterback over Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd said for weeks that Matthew Stafford was the cheapest and best overall option, better than Deshaun Watson, better than Kirk Cousins, and more, and yet here we are. He is officially gone. So the point of this video is, of course, plenty of other options at quarterback. I mean, this is going to be a full breakdown of the 6 other quarterbacks that have been rumored to be on the trade market. There might be some other ones on there, but these are the 6 that, to me, have the highest chance of being traded. I'm going to rank them, starting at 6 all the way down to 1 in terms of best fit for the 49ers. I'm going to take into account the cost that I think it would take to go ahead and trade for one of these quarterbacks, and of course the overall fit as well with the team in general, and that's why my rankings might be a little bit different than yours, but we'll start with the least likely, and I'll explain why and who that is, and then get down to the most likely overall. Now, just want to quickly mention before we move on to the actual list here that, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo is still the quarterback of the Niners, and my overall thought on this is that Jimmy Garoppolo will remain the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, but if they were going to go ahead and trade for a quarterback, again, the whole point of this video is to give you the list and my 6 in the correct order of what I would do and who I would go with if I was San Francisco's front office in trading for a QB. Again, which quarterback do you want the 49ers to go ahead and trade for? Do you even want them to go ahead and trade for a cornerback? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no. Let me know down below right now in the comment section. Okay, let's jump into number 6. My number 6 option, again, the least likely one, the one I would not do, but still is out there, Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Now, I know. Stop. Don't freak out. They're not going to trade for Teddy Bridgewater. But, as we saw over the weekend, Carolina was very active in trying to trade for Matt Stafford. That means that Bridgewater is an expendable option here at the quarterback position, meaning if San Francisco wanted to do the cheapest option, again, the cheapest out of the 6 right here to go ahead and trade for right now, which could still be an upgrade if you want the mobility of Teddy Bridgewater, although, again, I would argue not an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. But if you wanted a cheap option here, Bridgewater is the cheapest, and that's why he's on the list. But, again, number 6, I would not do it. And I know you guys probably typing right now down below would agree with me on that. Now, again, cheap. I don't think he would cost a first. I don't think he would cost a second. I think he'd cost like a third and maybe a 6th, and maybe even just a third. I mean, I think Teddy Bridgewater would be very, very cheap to go ahead and trade for. That's my mock trade in front of you guys right now. But again, that could become a little bit less. I think maybe even just a third could be enough. You don't even need the extra 6. But as I keep saying, I'd rather keep Jimmy Garoppolo. If it's Bridgewater or Garoppolo, give me Jimmy Garoppolo every single day of the week. But again, we're doing the list from 6 all the way down to 1, so I had to give you somebody that could potentially be traded, who's the cheapest option, but the least likely for me right now, of course, is Teddy Bridgewater. Okay, number 5. How about Matt Ryan? People have Matt Ryan pretty high on their potential trade list. I think a lot of people on Twitter are saying Matt Ryan should be number 1 on their quarterback trade list. I'm just not really there. I understand the great history that Matt Ryan and, of course, Kyle Shanahan have had. They went to a Super Bowl together in Atlanta when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, and so I get that part of it. But Matt Ryan, he's expensive, and he's the oldest remaining quarterback on this list. So right now, he's like 3 years left on his $150 million deal. Very expensive. Plus, he's 35 years old. Now, he's not, super old in the age of quarterbacks. He has at least 3 or 4 more good years left based on the Bradys, the Rodgers, and Breezes of the world. And he's only missed 3 starts almost his entire career, so he's very durable. But still, 35 for a quarterback who costs this much. I'd rather trade for somebody else who would be a lot cheaper in terms of the future, as well as giving you, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more years versus just 2 to 3, which you currently have with Matt Ryan. So I understand the love, but he's lower on my list right now. I guess higher on my list, and I don't really want him that much just due to the age and the contract. Mock trade. He would cost a first, but I don't think he would cost you 2 first-round draft picks, because if Atlanta wants to go ahead and trade Matt Ryan, they're trying to get out of his contract because, like you said, it's an expensive contract right now. So it'd be similar to the Jared Goff scenario, where the real trade for the Detroit Lions and the LA Rams was to get rid of the Jared Goff situation, and that's why Matt Stafford cost 2 first-round draft picks. 1 first was for Stafford, the other first was to get rid of Jared Goff's expensive, ridiculous contract. So 1 first here for Matt Ryan, and then probably an additional pick, maybe a player, I think a 2021 fourth, a mid-round pick would go ahead and do it. And so not too expensive. But again, this to me is just not something I want to go ahead and do. Trading right now for Matt Ryan would be like the ultimate win now move. And by win now, I mean like 2-year window win now, because they're not winning with Matt Ryan 4 years from now, 5 years from now. So if they truly believe that they're in win now scenario, which I think San Francisco is, but they truly also believe that Matt Ryan is the only quarterback of the 6 to go ahead and trade for to let them win now, then you could do this trade. But I think there are better options. That's why Matt Ryan, of course, comes in at number 6. Good player. Listen, I live in Atlanta, cover the Atlanta Falcons. I think Matt Ryan's a great player and can still go out and win you games. But if the 49ers are trying to trade for winning now, but also winning, 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now, Stafford just not Matt Ryan just not the right option. Why he comes in at number 5 here on my list. How about this? Pick a quarterback, Matt Ryan or Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Just all bets aside, if one quarterback to win a football game, who would you rather have, Garoppolo or Matt Ryan? MR for Matt Ryan, JG for Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me know down below in the comments section. Okay, number 4. Now, I put Sam Darnold at 4 for a couple of reasons. And this goes over Matt Ryan. I keep saying Stafford. I mean Matt Ryan. Over Matt Ryan. Why? Okay, so Matt Stafford, excuse me, I keep messing that up. Sam Darnold is where we're going right now with this. Goodness gracious. Sam Darnold, of course, is, to me, a viable option if you want to really look towards the future, but it would all come down to how good Kyle Shanahan thinks that Sam Darnold is. If Kyle Shanahan thinks that Sam Darnold, who he spoke very highly of in the past, is a future franchise quarterback, then a trade here makes a lot of sense. Now, Robert Saleh being the Jets' new head coach, you get maybe a discount on the trade going back and forth, but it all depends on what Kyle Shanahan thinks of Sam Darnold. I, for one, don't think Sam Darnold is going to be that great of a quarterback, and so I would not really trade for him, although he is a younger, more futuristic option than, of course, Matt Ryan. I don't think he would cost that much either. I don't think a first-round draft pick would be necessary for Sam Darnold. I think a second and a fourth would go ahead and get the deal done. Maybe the Niners even getting like a 6th back overall. That way the Jets can get out of Sam Darnold and draft somebody at number 2 overall. But it's a matter of, can we win with Sam Darnold this year, like in 2021? And for me, it's not necessarily a real reality. And again, if Shanahan thinks this is a guy who simply is only bad because of the structure and situation he was put in with the New York Jets, well, then maybe you go ahead and make the deal for him because it's cheaper and he's young and you can just build around Sam Darnold for the rest of his entire NFL career, 10 or 15 years. But I want someone who I can win with right now, and I don't feel that Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl in 2021. Now, maybe in Kyle Shanahan's system, 2022, 2023, Darnold becomes a superstar and could win football games and Super Bowls, then sure. But I'm on kind of in the scenario where I want to win right now. Don't get that mistaken with me not being fully in on Matt Ryan because I want to be able to win in the future. You got to find a happy medium between the two, which of course is why there are 3 players left on my list. Matt Ryan is a win now guy, but you can't win within 3 or 4 years, and Sam Darnold is a 3 or 4 long-term winning situation, but I don't think you can win in year 1, and the 49ers are built to win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, if not just go ahead in this year. So Sam Darnold comes in here at number 4. Again, an option. Depends on how good Kyle Shanahan likes him, but not my top option, obviously, on this list. Okay, before we keep going, quick shout out here to our friends at BetUS and the Super Bowl bets, which are just going crazy right now. You guys got to jump in on this. TreadSports.com/49bet, promo code Niners125. That's how you get in on the 125% deposit bonus whenever you put your first $100 down, and then bet on the Super Bowl, because right now, Kansas City minus 3.5, over under is 56.5. I think the Bucs are going to win this football game, so betting Tampa Bay plus 3.5 is kind of where I would go on this one. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. People are saying shootout. They're saying 40, 50 points. You could easily bet the over here. I would bet the under. I think we're going to have a defensive battle. That happens more often than not in Super Bowls. Now, what's fun here is you can go to our friends with BetUS, chatsports.com/49bet, and do some of the prop bets right now. You could bet on literally every aspect of this game. Some examples, right? You could bet that Tom Brady, on his first rushing attempt, will have more than half a yard. That's literally a bet. And if you bet on that, plus 110, right? And you could bet on Patrick Mahomes, the distance of his first touchdown pass, over under 13.3 yards. Minus 115 on that one. It's some fun bets overall. How about this one? Tyreek Hill will not score a touchdown. Plus 120. Kind of surprising. It's plus 120 for Tyreek Hill not scoring a touchdown. But this and more. We talked about the weekend. You can bet on what song lineup he's going to go ahead and have. You can bet on every aspect of this game. And so jump in on it, because Super Bowl, your final chance to bet on an NFL game. And so do it with our friends at BetUS. FUS. All right, top three. Let's get into the top three here. All three of these, to me, would be great additions. Again, we guess what the price would be, but all of these quarterbacks would be upgrades over Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. How about number three, Carson Wentz? Now, I understand that Carson Wentz has a little bit of drama right now in Philadelphia. I understand the Eagles are trying to keep Carson Wentz. I understand he had a pretty bad 2020. But if you go back into the history of Carson Wentz, in the right scenario with the right offense and a strong running game, which he's not really had in Philadelphia and, of course, would have with the San Francisco 49ers, he can get back to his, 2017 MVP type season. You got to remember, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best player in the league in 2017. He was voted as a top three player by his peers in the NFL Top 100. If Kyle Shanahan is the great offensive mind we all know that he is, if anyone can fix Carson Wentz, it's Kyle Shanahan. If you can get Carson Wentz for a cheap price, let's just say a 12th round or the 12th overall pick, first round here in 2021, and that's it, and then you go ahead and fix him, yes, the contract is kind of expensive. It's not crazy compared to some of the other guys like Mahomes and Watson want to go ahead and have, or already have right now, but it still would be an incredibly cheap deal to get a guy that you could go ahead and fix and just plow right forward into a future MVP and Super Bowl seasons in the San Francisco. I think Wentz has a super high ceiling. That's why he's high up here on my list. People are going to rip me for this because I'm saying, oh, Thomas, he was so bad last year. The pocket awareness and the interceptions were all bad. I get that, but I also watched Carson Wentz his first 4 years in the league, and he was one of the best quarterbacks. He really, really good. And I think if San Francisco were to go ahead and just roll the dice a little bit, trade for quarterback Carson Wentz, they could really jumpstart the quarterback play of this football team tenfold if you're able to fix him. And I think he's very fixable as a whole. You got to remember, 2017, this guy threw 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had the Eagles into the number 1 seed in the postseason. Yes, he got injured, but he's been pretty healthy each of the past couple of years. To me, this is a much cheaper option than, let's say, Deshaun Watson or even Matthew Stafford was. And, of course, Stafford already gone, as we talked about. And the ceiling for him is probably the highest of any of the quarterbacks on this list, minus maybe Deshaun Watson. But I think Wentz could be a better overall quarterback than Deshaun Watson with the right, system in mind, which is important that the Kyle Shanahan system is exciting as I think it is. A very quarterback-friendly system, and that would be huge for Carson Wentz. Would you guys trade for Carson Wentz? Type T down below for trade. Type P down below for pass. Let me know what you guys think down below. Okay. Final two on my list here. Now, I'm going to get some heat for this, but Deshaun Watson is not number 1. He's right here. He's number 2. Now, he's requested a trade from the Texans. We all understand this. The Houston Chronicle talked about how expensive he's going to be. More on that in a second. He has a no-trade clause, but they can void the no-trade clause pretty easily. I think if you want to get Deshaun Watson, and here's the important factor. Watson was the best player on this list. Yes, I just said Carson Wentz could be better, but right now, Deshaun Watson is the best player on this list. I would like Deshaun Watson over all these quarterbacks, but the real problem is the price, which we'll get into here. He's just going to be too expensive to trade for. The only way to go ahead and get Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, is if Watson goes to Houston or even publicly and says, I want to go to San Francisco, and that's it. I don't want to go anywhere else. And if he forces his way to San Francisco, then it could be, a lot cheaper than what some people are go ahead and reporting. Here's John McClain, Houston Chronicle, who reported on just a couple days ago, the asking price for Deshaun Watson, quote, the Rams-Lions trade will have nothing to do with the Watson trade. The Texans do it. They'll want 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 young defensive starters at the least. Watson, 25 under contract, great quarterback, team leader, beloved by fans, pillar of the community, starts with the Jets. Okay, again, that right there is way more than what my mock has. My mock has at a minimum 3 first-round draft picks. I think that would be enough to go ahead and pry Watson from Houston. But if this is true, 2 firsts, 2 starters, 2 seconds, that is unbelievable and just way too much. So the only way you get Deshaun Watson is if he forces his way out of there and helps bring the price down a little bit, because that's been the big issue in Houston, I should say. Not Philadelphia because of Carson Wentz, but in Houston right now, that of course they would go ahead and accept a trade offer if they get enough. And all these teams are like the 49ers are saying it's just too expensive. I don't want to do it. So again, Watson needs to pick a team. He needs to make this easier on a team, because any team with having to give up 2 firsts, 2 star players, like imagine giving up 2 firsts, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and 2 seconds. It's just too much. You would really cripple the 49ers going forward the next couple of years. So yes, I put him high on my list. Yes, I want him just as much as you do, but he's not number 1 because the price is just too dang high. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed. You get any of these trades were to happen or anything happens with the 49ers, we cover it here on the channel, so make sure you guys hit the big red subscribe button down below. All right, number 1. My new number 1, because this was Matt Stafford until he was traded, right? My number 1 right now, yes, you see it. It's Kirk Cousins. I know. I'm going to get ripped for this, but the Shanahan history, just like the Matt Ryan history, is fantastic. Think of him as Matt Ryan, but actually younger and on a pretty good contract. 2 years left on his deal, and really, it's cheap. It's like $24 million and $34 million. It's not that expensive in terms of a strong franchise quarterback. There have been rumors that have been swirling the past couple of days linking that he is now the top target for San Francisco. He's the best bang for the buck quarterback on this list out of any of them. It's like Carson Wentz, it's a similar price, I would think. Yet you're going to get the less drama, right? Because the Wentz drama in 2020 versus the, really no Kirk Cousins drama over his career, besides the fact he throws one too many interceptions. But I think you get him for a second or a first-round draft pick, 12 overall, and maybe a fourth. I don't think it's that expensive overall, and you give the Vikings a chance to go ahead and draft a quarterback at number 12. Cousins makes the most sense. And again, it's not because he's better than Deshaun Watson or Carson Wentz. It's because he's cheaper than Deshaun Watson and has less baggage at the moment than Carson Wentz. There's an argument you want Wentz over Kirk Cousins because he's younger and has a higher upside. But I think right now, Kyle Shanahan, the pairing that they had when he was, of course, with the Washington football team, the Washington Redskins, now the Washington football team, to me is just very strong and interesting for San Francisco. And, of course, Cousins the past couple of years, despite the slow start last year, 2 years ago, he was really good in 2019. And this year, still 35 touchdowns, 13 picks. That right there would be really, really great with the 49ers. Can you imagine him in that offense? So, again, is Kirk Cousins the best option overall? Well, from just a skill standpoint, no. I think you make the argument Watson obviously is a lot better. Wentz has a higher ceiling. Darnold a lot younger, and maybe you can kind of mold him into a better quarterback in the long term. But best overall fit right now in terms of price, production, and just gelling with Kyle Shanahan as a whole, it's got to be Kirk Cousins for me, and that is why he is number one on my list. Okay. Land on this. Which quarterback of the list you guys want the 49ers to go ahead and trade for? Let me know who that is down below right now in the comments section, because I want to see what you guys think. These are the 6 that are available. I ranked them in my order. If you guys want to put them in your order, go for it. But this, to me, is the order that makes more sense for the San Francisco 49ers, meaning it's Cousins, Watson, and then Carson Wentz, 1, 2, 3. Ultimately, out for today here on the 49ers Report. I'm your host, Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.